Hello, it's Phil Robertson, Vicar of St Jude's. I come to you as the virtual vicar. It's the 24th of March and we're into, I think it's second or third day of this peculiar lockdown after Boris Johnson announced things tightening up because of coronavirus on Monday. It is strange. It's a beautiful day. I was out walking the dog in West Park this morning, but very few people around. You might hear the odd background noise. There are folks in the garden next door erecting a greenhouse. So in many ways it's a glorious time to be alive. And yet there is this terrible coronavirus which is sweeping the land and devastating some people's lives, changing all of our lives for the moment. So church is shut, and here I am trying to reach out to my congregation at St Jude's Church on the Tettenhall Road, or anybody else that happens to be watching. Just thought it'd be good to say something really about what I'm doing, what we could do, and just some reflections on what Christians might do in response to what's going on. It has given rise to amusing moments. I went shopping in the supermarket on Monday for some people, and I really felt my age. I was trying to unload the supermarket trolley into the back of the car, and one of the bags got caught on the trolley, and I must have looked like a wizened old man, sort of hunched over the trolley trying to get this bag off, because before I knew it, along came somebody, "Can I help you? Can I help you?" And inside me I was screaming, "No, get away, get away." But then she was just so kind and helpful. All I could say was, "That's really kind, thank you." We've been told that we're not to go out apart from when it's essential. And we've been thinking, Nikki and I, that's my wife, how we might be able to help people that are in need. So we came up with this little card, "Hello Neighbour." You might have seen it on our Facebook page, that's St Jude's Church Community Facebook, or on our website, St Jude's Church Wolverhampton, in a church near you. And we started delivering it last night to people, and I posted on the Wolverhampton volunteer group what we've been doing, and just slight prick of conscience, are we doing something that we're not supposed to be doing this? But lots of people were supportive and encouraging. And WVSC is a volunteer group in Wolverhampton who are trying to coordinate efforts. Another one is the NHS scheme that Matt Hancock announced last night on the news. If you're wanting to do something practical, go to their websites and find out how you might be able to help. They're looking for volunteers at this strange time. As a church, I've produced a little sheet, prayers, hoping to do that every week, that looks something like that. Again, you can download it from the Facebook page or from our website. And it's trying to help us think from a Christian perspective about what's going on. We're getting lots of information, really helpful information about what it's doing to our country, the efforts the government's making, the efforts we all need to make to help bring this awful outbreak under control. Striking though, there's not very much talk about things from a spiritual perspective. So as a minister in the church, I'm thinking, so what might we be able to contribute that other people can't? So a couple of things come to mind. One is to be honest about the impact this is making. And some people have expressed this in very powerful words. There's that well-known saying, "A picture paints 1,000 words." But it's also very true that sometimes words can be put together to paint a very, very vivid and powerful picture. And two gentlemen called Michael Fuljames and Michael Harper, one a chaplain, one a doctor, have worked with people in situations where something awful happens to them. Either they come down with an awful illness, or they have an injury that is life-changing. And they've written a little book with prayers and reflections. And this is just something from their book. It's called Sudden Illness. It just pictures what it's like and what we might feel as we respond to sudden illness. It starts with a quote from Ecclesiastes. "Remember your Creator before the silver cord is loosed, or the golden bowl is broken, or the pitcher shattered at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the well." Sudden illness is rude. It's forced upon one literally and demands absolute attention. Often it appears out of a clear blue sky. It interrupts life in full flow. It laughs at negotiation. It just is. We have it, like it or not. It threatens us, weakens us, frightens us. It is a megaphone to silence the whispers of complacency. Mortality arrives by express and knocks at our door. Sudden illness changes us. No longer can we pretend immortality with integrity. It's like surviving a plane crash. Life is thereafter different. We traverse its night with the flashlight of anxiety. And when we espy the dawn, we breathe a sigh of relief, yet we know the night will return and the day may be shorter. Then if I cannot presume upon life everlasting in this flesh, what must I do first? Where are my priorities? Sudden illness casts a shadow over us. It brooks no delay. It ushers in white coats, needles, drips, questions, examinations, and anxious faces. Huddled conversations with family members blossom into expansive medical smiles. "Hello, how are you feeling now? We'll get you right soon." Dear God, be here. He's too attentive for my liking. Dear God, be here. I hurt. That's a big needle. What's she going to do with it? Dear God, be here. Am I a survivor or a casualty or in a dream? Surround me, Lord. And he does. He does. Captures something of the feeling we can have when something completely unexpected comes upon us that is life-changing. Who knows where the world is going to be in a few weeks' time? And it is the world that's been affected. You put on the news and one country after the next is in calamity. And I can't help but feel what is going on in the world. When we read the Old Testament and times of calamity, it talks about the world being shaken by the Lord. What did that look like for them at that time? Did it look something like what's going on now? It can make us fearful. But there are wonderful things to encourage us. And there are prayers in the Bible and songs of praise in the Bible which take us into the situation we face and takes us by the hand of somebody who's been through it and enables us to see things in a new perspective. And David does that wonderfully in a song of praise that he gives to the Lord after he's had some terrible encounters or survived some terrible encounters with enemies. We need to think carefully about how we interpret it and how it applies to us. But it captures something of the feelings, which I think certainly go through my heart and probably go through many other people's hearts. So let me just read you some of that book. This is 2 Samuel, verse 22, beginning at verse 1. David sang to the Lord the words of this song when the Lord delivered him from the hand of all his enemies and from the hand of Saul. Of course, our enemy at the moment is coronavirus and death and all the consequences of that. David said, "The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer. My God is my rock in whom I take refuge, my shield and the horn of my salvation. He is the stronghold, my refuge and my saviour. From violent people you save me. From violent viruses you save me. I call to the Lord, who is worthy of praise, and have been saved from my enemies. The waves of death swirled about me. The torrents of destruction overwhelmed me. The cords of the grave coiled around me. The snares of death confronted me. In my distress I called to the Lord. I called out to my God. From his temple he heard my voice. My cry came to his ears. The earth trembled and quaked. The foundations of the heavens shook. They trembled because he was angry. Smoke rose from his nostrils. Consuming fire came from his mouth. Burning coals blazed out of it. He parted the heavens and came down. Dark clouds were under his feet. He mounted the cherubim and flew. He soared on the wings of the wind. He made darkness his canopy around him, the dark rain clouds of the sky. Out of the brightness of his presence, boldness of lightning blazed forth. The Lord thundered from heaven. The voice of the Most High resounded. He shot his arrows and scattered the enemy. With great bolts of lightning, he routed them. The valleys of the sea were exposed and the foundations of the earth were laid bare. At the rebuke of the Lord, at the blast of his breath from his nostrils, he reached down from on high and took hold of me. He drew me out of the deep waters. He rescued me from my powerful enemy, my foes, who were too strong for me. They confronted me in the day of my disaster, but the Lord was my support. He brought me out into a spacious place. He rescued me because he delights in me. And so he goes on. How might God reach down and take hold of me at this time? Well, who knows? It could be that he does indeed save us from the illness. You might never become infected and you can rejoice and thank God for that. It might be that you are struck down and you become very poorly, but you pull through. You thank God for that. It might be that you're struck down with the illness and he takes you to be with himself. For as Christians we believe there's more to this world than meets the eye. The NHS can do some wonderful things for us and I'm full of praise for them. But their remit stops when life stops. What God can do is reach beyond the grave and pull us through to new life beyond the grave. We're coming up to Easter, and that is the Easter message. Jesus died and rose again. He conquered death. And Jesus says wonderfully, do you believe I am the resurrection and the life? To know the full rescue of God and to know the peace in our hearts, we need to come to Jesus and trust in him. Say we're sorry for those times when we've forgotten all about him, and put our trust in him in a new way. Let me pray. Father God, we thank you that you are indeed Lord of all, and illness and death make you angry, for you are the God of life. You breathed life into dust and made it into living things. And you sent Jesus to redeem us from returning to just dust. Help us to take hold of Jesus' hand through these troubled times in faith. Help us draw close to you and to one another. Thank you for technology where we can do that in new ways and support one another. But most of all, may we draw close to you. Thank you for your precious words in the Bible. May we delight to spend time with you in these times of needing to be alone and find a new purpose for life. Be with those who are trying to save others. Be with those who are trying to be kind. Be with those who are seriously ill or frightened. And help us to show kindness as you have shown kindness to us.